Hey, my name is KJ. This is Been There, Read That, and today I ask you to ignore these fantasy books because we're talking thrillers. My favorite thrillers of all time. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and The Girl Who Played with Fire by Stieg Larsson. These books have a Swedish setting, which meant that I predominantly listened to these via audio because some of those Swedish words, those are tough things to say, okay? I would say this first book, especially The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, is one of the darker thrillers I've read. The second book, The Girl Who Played with Fire, I read that 700 plus page book in less than 48 hours. The plot was explosive, and we'd already grown to love the characters from the first book. I've found that popular books are popular for a reason, so if you haven't checked out these gems by Stieg Larsson yet, I would highly recommend doing so. Another 2-for-1, we have The Hunting Party and The Guest List by Lucy Foley. These books are some of the most atmospheric thrillers I have ever read. Let's start with The Hunting Party. This is set in the Scottish Highlands, whereas The Guest List is set at a remote island off the coast of Ireland. I would definitely describe these books as domestic thrillers. We're following a group of people who are kind of coming together for a reunion of sorts, and we're getting flashback chapters from their time either in high school or in college. I would say these books are packed full of drama, complex relationships between the characters that span decades. The Hunting Party is perfect if you're looking for an atmospheric winter read, or maybe you're like me and you read it in the 90-degree heat of June. The Guest List gives major springtime, also fall vibes to me, so really a book you could check out any time of year. The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. I would describe this as a domestic thriller set in New England, so I'm talking Maine, Connecticut, Massachusetts vibes. The characters in this story are very crazy, chaotic. They make some diabolical decisions. The plot twists are vapid throughout this entire book, and there's even a couple sequels to this first book here, neither of which live up to the quality of the first book in my opinion. But if you enjoy The Kind Worth Killing and you want more from these characters, I would recommend checking out the sequels. I think this book had a lot of chatter even 5 years ago, definitely 10 years ago when it came out, and I'm sad to see this book talked about less frequently nowadays. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Ever heard of it? I was lucky enough to read through this book without seeing the movie beforehand, without being spoiled for the plot twist. This book reinvented what a modern thriller is. This was Good for Her before Good for Her existed. I think these characters are both so interesting to follow. I thought the Missouri setting of this book was so refreshing. So many thrillers are set on the East Coast, on the West Coast, and it was fun to follow these characters in Middle America. In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This is a dark academic thriller set on a New England college campus, and we're following a group of friends who are attending a college reunion. This friend group has a lot of drama going on. Somebody is going to end up dead during their college days, and we're essentially unraveling the true story behind the killer. This book is propulsive and really intriguing to follow a set of characters who aren't always the most likable, we'll say. The One by John Mars is a sci-fi leaning thriller. It's set in this world where essentially a scientist discovered this gene, a segment of DNA that should tell you who your perfect match is. So we're following 5 characters and how they interact with this technology, from a serial killer to a scientist to a married man. Every single chapter ends on a cliffhanger, so this book is just so easy to breeze through, a perfect read around Valentine's Day. The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine. We follow a character who's on a quest to earn status and maybe more, and what unravels from there. We get into this twisted, dramatic life in New York. The plot twist in this book was shocking to me. It was the first time I discovered this plot twist. I've only read one Frida McFadden in my time, but I would say that The Last Mrs. Parrish is very similar. So if you're a fan of Frida and you haven't checked out this book yet by Liv Constantine, I would highly recommend doing so. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens is a historical mystery thriller book set in the 1950s, 1960s in North Carolina. We're following sort of a reclusive girl during her upbringing. This is very much a coming of age story about a girl who learns who she can trust in this world and maybe the types of people who are going to take advantage of her. There's an element of this book that has to do with a fire tower. I've climbed my fair share of fire towers in my day, so that really kept me reading and engaged. This story is so atmospheric. It really made me feel in touch with nature, and I would highly recommend checking this out if you haven't already done so. The last book to chat through is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This is very much a closed door story. We're following kind of a unreliable narrator who believes she saw a crime occur in her neighbor's house while watching through her window. And then we watch as this character grows more and more confused and uncertain about what she witnessed that evening. There was a scene in this book that made me close this book, throw it across the room, and just pause because I was so terrified of the imagery of what was happening in that scene. And if a book can make me stop and think, that's when you know it's something special. There you have it. Those are the 11 books I consider to be my favorite thrillers of all time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe, and I'll be back again soon with another video. People compare this one to Strangers on a Train, which is an older movie that I personally have not seen. I tend to avoid movies that were released before I was born.